Hi everybody, Carolyn Rose here. It's time for Christmas in July with some snowy hills. This was for the Christmas in July hop over on Instagram. I committed to the first and the last days of the month because even though I would like to do one for every single day, which they are doing, I knew that you can't get a card done and a video for that. There just are not enough hours in the day to do that. That your crafty eyes are bigger than what your crafty stomach can hold, right? So if I get ones done in the middle part, hey, they're bonus. It's extra surprise, right? So I pulled out one of my favorites, the Altenew, the Rolling Hills. This has both an embossing folder and a stencil set with it. I'm only using the embossing folder this time. I had some old corrugated cardboard lying around. I went, if I painted that, it would really look like snowy hills. And so I cut a template out first with each of the pieces in those sections. I angled the cardboard so that it would kind of funnel in a V down towards the middle front. I'm running each of them through individually on the embossing folder. I had to bump the sandwich up at the beginning because I thought, it's cardboard, it's thicker. I used my lighter sandwich and then it wasn't enough of an impression. So I went back in and I did it a second time. So I had enough of a line that I could cut them out. Those are matched up at the top with their corresponding template pieces. I did number those so I knew which order to put them down. And I worked on the sky because it's a winter sky. It's very light blues. So I brought out my bigger blending brushes, started it off the mat and then brought it onto the panel and then did that horizontal swipe at the end to make certain that I didn't lay the ink down too much. I had a really light turquoise blue blending into the dewy blue-green and brought it into like a white as it came down the horizon. Now, cutting those out, I also need a background piece because it was going to be really difficult to cut all the little trees out and I wanted them to be white. So I'm just checking that it fits behind those pieces of cardboard. And now that it's ready, I'm gluing them all down. I didn't have to do too much dry fitting because the lines were so definitive that I was able to cut on them quite well. And it was only a couple of little pieces that I had to take an infinitesimal little amount off of it to get it in there. So I've got, of course, the acrylic block over top to get the corrugated cardboard to set down, glue down straight, and then trimmed off the outside edges across the bottom. Brought in my gesso. I'm bringing this from the top down to the bottom. I'm doing my brush strokes with it in the direction of each of those lines of the cardboard. I've got the trees on the top of this, on that background white part. They're masked off with a little bit of satin tape so that I don't get gesso on them. Now, gesso is really thick. It takes longer to dry, and I knew that it would cause the trees to have a different texture. And because I want to have some trees just through the middle and down at the bottom, I wanted them all to be the same and not like the cardboard in the background. Gesso does take a long time to dry. So I brought out some embossing powder. I have a fine white and I've got a chunky white. Putting the fine white farther away because, of course, as things go farther away, they get smaller. And the ones in the front, there's 1 and 2 layers down at the bottom that I layered it on, sort of medium heavy and then heavy, just in that one corner. Brought out the embossing, the heat gun. That's going to help set it in place as well as dry that gesso. Okay, so we're just seeing how this fits on here, that I've got the sky coming down far enough that I've got it in proportions of 1/3 sky, 2/3 of the rolling hills. Good, everything looks great. I got the acrylic block over it again to keep everything just nice and flat. Once it's a little bit more dry and everything's set, I'm going to cut out the trees that are in the foreground and in the midground and fit them into place over top of where they are in those corrugated pieces. Brought in the jelly pen. I'm kind of doing like the way that snow falls on branches. It'll be on clumps, and so put those on the trees. Then worked on the inside. This was the halftone holidays. Started out with a really light blue. I put just a hint of a medium blue, brushed it in, then brought in the Oh, Happy Holidays one. No, not quite yet. Sorry, this is still the Halftone Holidays. Now I'm bringing in the Happy Holidays, and I only wanted the one word season out of it because I liked mixing the fonts, and I had masked it off with satin tape before I inked. Silly, forgot to mask off the S at the end, and I realized I went, oh, I can fix it. I'll put a snowflake over top of it. Okay, so I brought out the Cottage Charm set because I wanted to set one home into place. And I have some die cuts too, but I just thought, no, let's go for more of this rustic look. I did a template first with it to make certain it would fit. And I went, okay, yeah, it will. Brought out some of my panels, inked it down in the Obsidian Black, which is a pigment ink first, set it aside so that I wouldn't smear it. I knew that I was going to heat emboss this Merry and Bright, which is also from the Happy Holidays. And I did that in a blue and a darker blue with a little bit of a sparkle embossing powder over top of it. So while I am heat gunning it, and I'm going from front and back, because with the sparkle, you don't want to have heat always on the sparkle. I also then gave that Obsidian pigment ink a little bit of a shot too, to make certain it was dry before I started painting it. These are my Distress watercolor pencils. If you take a water brush and you touch the tip, you can activate those colors. Then I brought in another finer brush just for a little bit more detail because this water brush, this one that I had out, you know how some of them just give you too much water? Well, that's what was going on. Luckily, because that's pigment ink, it didn't smear, but I had to alternate back and forth between the two brushes. I'm doing that cottage in tones of grays with a little bit of Tudor look with some muted browns brought in and then a wash of beige across the roof. This is my snow marker pen. So I shook it up really well and then I'm just dotting on bits of it. I can tell it's starting to age out because it's yellowing. You let it dry and then you heat gun it from behind and from in front and it puffs up. You can use it for like popcorn too. So that was where I had the snow sitting across the roof of the cottage. And then I also brought it in at the bushes down at the bottom so that it would look like snow had fallen down there too. And that was how I'm also going to merge it with the bushes that I've got here on the cardboard panel. Got it so that it's going to tuck up against the one side and the door is going to be right between those two sets of bushes in the foreground. We've got an acrylic block on that one as well because with that corrugated cardboard with the gesso over top of it, I want to make certain it's got a really good contact. I'm gluing down 3 glitter snowflakes, even though it's not snowing, but maybe the wind's blowing them, right? And we just bring in a little bit of shiny bling bling. This is from my stash, so I have no idea what brand this was. I think I got it at the Dollar Tree. You know, you can get nice shiny stuff there. Hey, it's inexpensive and builds your stash. So that's the finished card. You tilt it back and forth in the light, and it's neat because the shadows fall across the hills and across the snow on the cottage. I wasn't certain if I was going to like it at first, and now I do. I do like it. We got at least one Christmas in July card done, and maybe more. We'll see, right? Everybody, go have some fun experimenting. Be that change you want to see in the world. Thanks for watching. We'll catch everybody next time. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.